My name is Emma. I'm 29 years old, and the parents who refused to help me go to college are now demanding I pay for my sister's $150,000 wedding. Yes, you heard that right. The same people who told me at 18 that debt builds character and that I needed to figure it out on my own now expect me to write a check that could have paid for my entire education 3 times over. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done being the responsible one. I'm done being invisible. I'm done sacrificing while everyone else gets to live like royalty on my dime. Before I explain how everything exploded, like and subscribe to Revenge Queens, and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. Let me take you back to where this all started. I was always the quiet one, the responsible daughter, the one who did her homework without being asked, who cleaned up after family dinners, who never caused drama or asked for too much. I learned early that love in my family wasn't unconditional, it was transactional. And the currency? Silence. Obedience. Making yourself small so everyone else could shine. My mom was the kind of woman who cared more about what the neighbors thought than what her own daughter felt. Every decision was filtered through this lens of what will people say. She was morally rigid about the strangest things, wearing the right clothes to church, never showing vulnerability, maintaining this perfect family image that was so far from reality it was laughable. But I wasn't laughing. I was drowning in the weight of her expectations. My dad? He was the pull yourself up by your bootstraps type. Everything was a lesson in self-reliance, which really just meant he didn't want to be bothered. Figure out yourself was his favorite phrase. It didn't matter if I was struggling with homework, dealing with bullies at school, or trying to understand why I felt so alone in my own home. His answer was always the same. Figure it out. And then there was my sister, Madison. 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she was the golden child. The princess who never heard the word no. While I was expected to earn every scrap of approval, Madison got praise for simply existing. She wanted dance lessons? Done. A car for her 16th birthday? Of course. Spring break trips with her friends? Why not? The rules that applied to me didn't exist for her. And everyone pretended not to notice. I noticed. God, did I notice? But I kept my mouth shut because that's what good daughters do, right? They don't cause problems. They don't point out the obvious favoritism. They just disappear into the background and hope that maybe, just maybe, one day someone will see them. That day never came. When I was 17, I got accepted into college. Not just any college, a good one. I worked my ass off for that acceptance letter. I studied until my eyes burned. I joined clubs and volunteered, and did everything I was supposed to do. I actually believed that my parents would be proud. That they'd help me the way parents are supposed to help their children. I was so naive. I remember sitting at the dinner table, acceptance letter in hand, excitement bubbling in my chest. I told them about the scholarship I'd received. It covered about 60% of tuition, but I'd still need help with the rest, plus room and board, books, all of it. I asked if they could help. Not pay for everything. Just help. My dad didn't even look up from his plate. We don't believe in handouts, Emma. You want to go to college? Get a job. Take out loans. Figure it out. I looked at my mom, desperate. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. Your father and I have principles, she said, her voice cold. Debt is shameful. If you can't afford it without borrowing, maybe you're not ready. I felt something crack inside me that night. But the worst part? They didn't even seem to register my pain. They just went back to eating dinner, like they hadn't just shattered my world. Like they hadn't just told their daughter that her dreams weren't worth a damn thing to them. I tried to argue. I brought up scholarships, payment plans, the possibility of them just co-signing a loan. Nothing. They had their principles, and those principles meant more than I did. Meanwhile, Madison sat there smirking. Actually smirking. She leaned over and whispered, "Guess you're not as special as you thought." I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip that table and demand to know what I'd done to deserve this. But I didn't. Because that's not who I was. I was the good daughter. The one who didn't make waves. So I figured it out. Just like they told me to. If you've ever felt overlooked by your own family, hit that subscribe button. And if you're still refusing, comment why. I really want to understand. Because what I went through next, no 18-year-old should have to experience alone. I worked 3 jobs that first year of college. 3. I waitressed at a diner from 5 in the morning until noon. Then I'd rush to classes, trying not to fall asleep in lectures. After classes, I worked the evening shift at a campus bookstore. And on weekends, I cleaned houses for wealthy families who probably spent more on their kids' allowances than I made in a month. I lived in the cheapest dorm room available, no air conditioning, a roommate who was never there, walls so thin I could hear every conversation, every fight, every intimate moment from the rooms around me. I ate ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches. I wore the same 3 outfits on rotation because I couldn't afford anything else. I studied by the light of my phone because I couldn't afford a desk lamp. I was exhausted, bone deep, soul-crushing exhausted. There were nights I'd finish a shift at the diner, come back to my dorm, and just sit on the floor and cry. Not because I regretted going to college, I didn't. But because I was so tired of fighting for everything while everyone else seemed to have it so easy. My family didn't call, didn't check in, didn't ask how I was managing. Radio silence. Except for my grandparents, my mom's parents. They were the only ones who seemed to care. They'd send me care packages with homemade cookies and $20 bills tucked into the boxes with notes that said, "For groceries," or "Treat yourself." They couldn't afford much, but they gave what they could. And that meant more to me than anything my parents never gave. I graduated in 4 years. 4 brutal, exhausting years. I walked across that stage with honors, and you know who was there? My grandparents. Just them. My parents didn't come. Said they had a commitment they couldn't miss. Madison was too busy with her high school friends. I didn't cry at graduation. I'd run out of tears by then. After college, I landed a job at a tech company. Started in an entry-level position, but I worked my way up. I was good at what I did. Really good. I moved into my own apartment, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I furnished it slowly, piece by piece, savoring every small victory. I'd built a life for myself. A good life. And I did it completely on my own. But here's the thing about family dynamics. They don't change just because you do. Every time I went home for holidays, I was still the background character. Madison was planning her future, talking about her boyfriend, showing off the new things my parents had bought her. And I'd sit there, listening to my mom brag about Madison to relatives, watching my dad beam with pride at his golden child, and I'd feel that old familiar ache. The one that reminded me I was never enough. I kept going back, though, because that's what you do, right? You show up. You hope that maybe this time will be different. That maybe they'll finally see you. They never did. Until they needed something. It was a Thursday evening when my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. They'd never visited before, never even asked for my address, really. But there they were, standing in my doorway looking serious. My dad's jaw was set in that way that meant he'd already made a decision and wasn't interested in discussion. My mom had that tight smile she wore when she was about to ask for something she knew was unreasonable. "We need to talk," my dad said, walking past me into my living room like he owned the place. I closed the door, my stomach already knotting with anxiety. "What's going on?" My mom sat on my couch, smoothing her skirt. "It's about Madison's wedding." "Oh, right." Madison had gotten engaged 6 months ago to some guy from a wealthy family. I'd met him once. He seemed nice enough, if a little full of himself. The engagement had been this huge production, a surprise proposal at a fancy restaurant with all their friends watching. My parents had posted about it on Facebook for weeks. "Okay," I said slowly. "What about it?" My dad cleared his throat. "The wedding is going to be quite an event. Madison and Trevor have their hearts set on something special. The venue alone is $80,000. Then there's the catering, the flowers, the band, the photographer, the dress." "Wait," I interrupted. "How much is this wedding costing?" My mom's smile tightened. "About $250,000 total." The room spun. $250,000? For one day? "It's not just one day, Emma," my mom said sharply. "It's the most important day of your sister's life. This is about family. About showing the Mitchells, that's Trevor's family, that we're equals, that we can provide for our daughter. Stories like this are why the Revenge Queens channel exists. If you're still listening, just hit subscribe or tell me in the comments why you're holding out. Because what they said next made my blood run cold. My dad leaned forward. We've managed to cover about $100,000. We've taken out a second mortgage, dipped into savings, asked relatives for contributions. But we're still short $150,000. I stared at them. And you're telling me this because? Because you're going to help, my mom said, like it was obvious. You have a good job. You're single, no kids, no major expenses. Family helps family, Emma. It's time for you to step up. I actually laughed. It just came out, this bitter, hollow sound. You're joking. We're completely serious, my dad said. Your sister needs you. We need you. You need me, I repeated slowly. You need me to give you $150,000 for a wedding. The same parents who wouldn't help me with a single dollar for college now need me to fund a party that costs more than most people's houses. That's different, my mom snapped. You chose to go to college. You could have worked, gone to community college, found another way. I did find another way. The words exploded out of me. I worked 3 jobs. I barely slept. I ate garbage and wore the same clothes for years. And you didn't care. You didn't even call to see if I was okay. Don't be dramatic, my dad said dismissively. You're fine. You turned out fine. This is about your sister now. About family responsibility. Family responsibility. I was shaking. Where was family responsibility when I was 18 and terrified? Where was it when I was working myself to exhaustion? Where was it every single time I needed you and you turned your backs? My mom stood up, her face flushed. We gave you a roof over your head for 18 years. We fed you, clothed you, raised you. We don't owe you anything. But you owe us. You owe this family. We've already told Madison you'd help, my dad added. We've already promised the Mitchells. The vendors are booked. The invitations are being printed. This is happening, Emma. You're not going to embarrass us by backing out now. They left after that. Just walked out of my apartment like they'd successfully delivered a package. Like they hadn't just demanded I hand over my financial security for a wedding I wasn't even involved in planning. I stood in my living room, numb. Then my phone started buzzing. Texts. Calls. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. All of them with the same message. So proud of you for helping Madison. Family sticks together. Your parents raised you right. Don't let everyone down. They told everyone. Announced it like it was a done deal. Like I'd already agreed. I felt violated. Manipulated. Used. But more than that, I felt that old familiar rage starting to build. The rage I'd been swallowing since I was a kid. The rage that came from being invisible until I was useful. From being the workhorse while Madison got to be the princess. I spent that night staring at my ceiling, replaying every moment of my childhood. Every time I was overlooked. Every time Madison got what she wanted while I got lectures about character and responsibility. Every time I tried to earn their love and came up empty. And I realized something. I'd been trying to earn something that was never mine to earn. Their love had always been conditional. And the condition was simple. Make yourself smaller, work harder, and never, ever ask for anything in return. I was done making myself smaller. The next morning, I called my best friend Sarah. We'd met in college. She'd been one of the few bright spots during those dark years. She was the sister I should have had. They want you to pay for what? She yelled into the phone when I told her. $150,000. For a wedding. Emma, that's insane. That's abusive. You know that, right? I know, I said quietly. But everyone's calling. Everyone expects me to do this. If I say no. If you say no, you're finally putting yourself first, Sarah interrupted. You've spent your entire life trying to win their approval. When are you going to accept that some people are incapable of giving what you need? When are you going to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm? Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. She was right. God, she was right. Protecting your peace isn't betrayal, Sarah said softly. It's adulthood. It's survival. Say no, Emma. Please. For yourself. I spent the next week preparing. I knew they'd come back. They always did when they wanted something. So I gathered my thoughts, rehearsed what I'd say, and built up the courage to do what I should have done years ago. Set boundaries. They showed up the following Sunday. Same serious expressions, same entitled energy. Have you thought about what we discussed? My dad asked, not even bothering with pleasantries. I have, I said calmly. And my answer is no. The room went silent. Excuse me? My mom said, her voice dangerous. I'm not paying for Madison's wedding. Not $1. My dad's face turned red. Emma, we already explained. You explained that you need money for a party. A ridiculously expensive party for a daughter you actually care about. But that's not my problem. How can you be so selfish, my mom hissed. This is your sister. The same sister who mocked me when you refused to help with college? The same sister who's never once asked how I was doing? That sister? You make enough money, my dad said, his voice rising. You can afford this. You're right. I can afford it. But I'm not going to. Because you know what? I worked for every single thing I have. I sacrificed and struggled and built a life completely on my own. And I'm not going to hand it over to fund a wedding that costs more than what I needed for 4 years of education that you said I didn't deserve help with. You're going to embarrass us, my mom said, tears in her eyes. Fake tears. I knew the difference now. Everyone knows. Everyone expects you to help. If you back out now, we'll look like failures. Like we raised an ungrateful, selfish daughter. Then you'll look exactly like what you are, I said quietly. Parents who only see their daughter as a bank account. Who only call when they need something. Who spent my entire life teaching me that I didn't matter unless I was useful. We gave you everything, my dad shouted. You gave me nothing, I shouted back, finally letting the anger out. You gave me a roof and food because that's literally the legal minimum. You didn't give me support or encouragement or love. You didn't give me help when I was drowning. You didn't even show up to my graduation. So no, Dad, you didn't give me everything. You gave me nothing, and you expected me to be grateful for it. I can't believe how selfish you've become, my mom said coldly. I can't believe it took me this long to put myself first, I shot back. My answer is no. No money, no guilt, and no rewriting history. You want to be mad at me? Fine. But I'm done carrying the weight of your expectations and your image and your golden child's dreams. They left furious. And I felt light. For the first time in my life, I felt free. But then something unexpected happened. 3 days later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Madison standing there, mascara running down her face, looking nothing like the confident princess I'd grown up with. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I almost said no. Almost. But something in her face made me step aside. She sat on my couch, wiping her eyes. I heard what happened. With Mom and Dad. Did they send you to guilt-trip me? I asked, unable to keep the bitterness out of my voice. No, she said quickly. They don't know I'm here. Emma, I'm so sorry. I blinked. What? I'm sorry. For everything. For being awful to you growing up. For taking everything they gave me without questioning why you never got the same. For being so spoiled and entitled that I thought everyone existed to make my life easier. She took a shaky breath. I didn't realize until recently how badly they treated you. How badly I treated you. I didn't trust this. Madison, if this is some manipulation. It's not, she said firmly. Emma, I'm drowning. This wedding has gotten completely out of control. It's not even what I want anymore. Trevor's family keeps pushing for more flowers, more guests, more everything. And Mom and Dad are so obsessed with appearances that they don't care that I'm having panic attacks about it. They just care about looking good. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. When they told me they expected you to pay, I was shocked. I didn't ask them to. I didn't even know they were going to. And when you said no, part of me was relieved. because it meant maybe I could finally say no too. If you've made it this far, you clearly love stories like this. Subscribe to Revenge Queens, or at least comment and say why you don't want to. I can take it. Because what happened next? I never saw coming. I don't want a wedding built on guilt, Madison continued. I don't want Trevor and me starting our marriage on the back of you sacrificing everything you've built. That's not love. That's not family. I told Mom and Dad I want to scale back. Something smaller, simpler, more meaningful. Something we can actually afford without destroying everyone around us. I stared at my sister, this person I thought I knew, seeing her clearly for the first time. They're furious with me now, she laughed bitterly. They're saying I'm embarrassing them, that I'm being ungrateful. All the things they said to you, they're saying to me now. And you know what? I finally get it. I finally understand what you've been dealing with your whole life. Madison. I was jealous of you, she interrupted. Growing up, I was jealous because you were smart and independent and you didn't need their approval the way I did. So, I played into being the favorite because it felt good to be chosen. But they didn't choose me because they loved me more, Emma. They chose me because I was easier to control. Because I never questioned them. We sat in silence for a long moment. I don't expect you to forgive me, Madison said finally. And I'm not asking you for money. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what they did. And I'm sorry I was part of it. She stood to leave, and I found myself saying, wait.
She turned.
What are you going to do? About the wedding? She smiled, a real smile. Trevor and I are going to have a small ceremony, maybe 50 people. A backyard thing at his parents' place. Simple food, simple flowers, simple everything. Something that's actually about us, not about proving something to people who don't even matter. That sounds perfect, I said honestly. Would you come? She asked quietly. Not as a checkbook. Just as my sister? I know I don't deserve it, but I'll be there, I said. And I was. 6 weeks later, I stood in Trevor's parents' beautiful backyard and watched my sister marry the man she loved. It was intimate and warm and full of genuine joy. The flowers were grocery store bouquets. The food was catered by a local restaurant. Madison wore a simple dress she found on sale, and she looked radiant. My parents didn't attend. They were too embarrassed, apparently. Too mortified that Madison had settled for something so common. Their absence told me everything I'd always known but never wanted to accept. Their love was conditional, their approval was performative, and their priorities had never included what actually mattered. But I was there. And so were my grandparents, beaming with pride. And Sarah, who'd become more family than blood ever was. And Trevor's parents, who welcomed everyone with open arms. During the reception, Madison pulled me aside. Thank you for coming. And thank you for saying no to them. It gave me permission to do the same. You don't need anyone's permission, I told her. That's what I learned. She hugged me tight. I have a lot to make up for. Years of being terrible. But I want to try. If you'll let me. One day at a time, I said. 3 months after the wedding, my parents called. Not to apologize, not yet. But they were different. Quieter. My dad asked how I was doing. My mom mentioned she'd been thinking about things. It wasn't much, but it was something. Eventually, they did apologize. Months later, during an awkward family dinner, my mom actually said the words, "I'm sorry." She admitted they'd been wrong. That they'd failed me in ways they were only beginning to understand. That their obsession with image and their favoritism had damaged all of us. I accepted their apology. But I didn't forget. And I didn't let my boundaries dissolve. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to old patterns. It doesn't mean pretending the hurt never happened. It means releasing the anger so it doesn't poison you, while still protecting yourself from people who haven't truly changed. My relationship with my parents is different now. Distant but civil. Surface level but honest. They know I won't be their backup plan anymore. They know I won't sacrifice myself for their comfort. And Madison? We're building something new. Something real. She calls every week. She asks about my life. She introduced me to her friends as my sister who's been through hell and came out stronger. We're not perfect, but we're trying. I'm 29 years old now. I have a career I built myself. An apartment I furnished myself. A life I created from nothing while everyone told me I owed them everything. And you know what? I don't owe anyone anything. Not my time, not my money, not my energy, not my peace. I gave myself permission to say no, to put myself first, to stop shrinking so others could expand. And it was the most liberating thing I've ever done. To everyone watching from revenge queens who's ever felt invisible in their own family, who's ever been the responsible one while everyone else got to be reckless, who's ever been told they're selfish for having boundaries, I see you. Your worth isn't determined by how useful you are to others. Your value isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. You are enough, exactly as you are, with boundaries, with limits, with the word no on your lips.
Say it.
Mean it. Protect it. Because the moment you stop living for everyone else's approval is the moment you start actually living. Like and subscribe to Revenge Queens if this story resonated with you. Comment below and tell me your story. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? How did it go? I want to hear from you. And remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. This is Emma, and I'm finally free.